Aloha, everyone. I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and you are watching All Intuitive Conversation. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to All Intuitive Conversation. I am excited to be connecting with Laura Belcher. And this, again, is our first time we are connecting here live for the first time. So, aloha. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, my lovely lady. Thank you for this wonderful space. It's so interesting and gorgeous and just not the norm, which really serves my heart and soul. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. I love the fact that you are open to coming on the show and just flowing with it. Because, like a lot of times, people experience fear and wonder, of like, it's not structured, it's not what I'm used to. So, I love that you're open to this. So, tell us, you told me, but tell us, all of us, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from a place in Kent in the UK. It's like a 30-minute drive from London.
Oh, so is that your hometown, born,
Yeah,
raised, or?
yeah. I've been like, I'm very grateful. I've seen quite a lot of the world, I guess, and lived in a couple of countries. But yeah, born and raised in the UK, in the southeast of that island.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So, born and raised there, and you say you visited other places.
Yeah.
What's been like your favorite place to visit?
Ooh. So I will say to you, for different reasons at different parts of my life, where places were my favorites. Most recent was Rome. I was really overwhelmed with the beauty and with the love there in every
Mhm.
form. The love that they have for their city, the love that radiates in their food, the love that the people have for one another, the love, just
Yes.
romance. I swear to you, Felicia, it was like I was part of that Julia Roberts film and Elizabeth Gilbert's beautiful book, I should say, firstly, Eat, Pray, Love
Uh-huh.
last year in a pandemic because I spent 4 weeks there. So very grateful for that experience. And then my second place, just through what it meant to me at the time, was I was very fortunate that I spent almost a year in Vancouver when I was in like 2012. And
Uh-huh.
I fell in love with the just how the city was, like the fact that I'd never been growing up here. I'd never been in a city on a harbour. I thought that was super special. Loved that. And the
Okay.
vibe. Yeah.
So those are definitely out of the town places to travel. So what sparked you to have this openness to travel and go to different places? Like, where did that come from?
Do you know what, Felicia? I just think it's so weird. My soul, I promise, has like lived in different countries. I've never felt aligned to stay in one place ever. There's something in
Hmm.
my heart and my soul that just feels so connective to be everywhere and to experience just so much more than what's here. I've always felt like that. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
from a young age, I
Yeah.
always wanted, I associated it with a holiday. I always used to think, I want to go away, I want to go on a holiday. But as I've got older and grown into it, I realized how much I love immersing myself in the vulnerability of being in a place I don't know. And I've only
Mm.
got comfortable in doing that on my own in like the last year. But for me, it's liberating. It like sets my soul on fire. It really puts me in a state of vulnerability, and I always get served. You know, like it's that feeling of like being super vulnerable. You just get
Yeah.
supported and served there. Yeah,
Okay, so you said doing it on your own. Do you mean traveling like solo or
yeah, yeah.
so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so do you know, I think I've again where I've always had a desire to travel and to be and to go. I think I spent from 2015 to like 2020 building a property company, and then I was working full time in a job too,
Uh-huh.
and I was just trying to navigate growing and being a woman, and like that was from like 25 to 30. So it was almost like when I could, and I those moments of stillness for me was getting on an aeroplane and
Mm,
going somewhere. And I guess we're very fortunate as well in London, where you can just hop to Europe and be somewhere in like an hour or two, and all very
mhm.
different places. So for me, then it used to be more in that fulfilling way of distraction and fulfillment and happiness, I guess, like that. But in the last year, a lot of things have changed in my life, I guess, and the people around me are in different places now. And I found myself where I was like, okay, cool, I've kind of got to do this alone, or that's it, you know. So I traveled, I'm trying to think back now. Oh yeah, so it was literally this time last year. And
Mhm.
it was my first holiday, I guess. Like I lived on my own when I was younger, but it felt like a different experience. Like to go on holiday on your own, I never truly understood how you could find happiness truly on your own at a dinner or at an event or going like to a nightclub and dancing, you know. Like
Yes.
you know what I mean? I just didn't get it. I
Yeah.
didn't get how that could be just as liberating and just as fulfilling as doing it with like a friend or doing it with a partner or like family or so on. So it was my first test, and I went to the UAE, I went to Dubai, and at the
Mhm.
time it was the only place I could get into because it was mid-pandemic, and I
Yeah.
was so grateful. It was the really, when I look back in reflection, it was the start of me stepping into what I was always meant to do in my purpose, and I was so grateful and so proud of myself for doing it.
Yeah.
And then it was like incredible. Like I ended up going on a one-way flight for one booking, and then I ended up staying there because I was actually I mentor women in business, but I also shoot in photography. So I'd had one booking for photography, a shoot, and then I ended up staying there, Felicia, for like it's like mid-Feb. So I was there for like a good 6 weeks, almost 2 months, and that was the start of it really. And then again, I was fortunate to spend 4 weeks in like Italy, Rome, in June, and
Yeah.
then I spent a week in Istanbul in like at like the end of October. But yeah, all of that time was on my own. I met people, but yeah, fully on my own.
Well, that is amazing. I have a good friend who's traveling. Like I think she said she's been probably traveling since she was like 5 or something like that, like by herself. And like her
Wow.
parents intentionally wanted her to be able to navigate and do those things. And I know that that is definitely a fear for some people that they travel, but then to do it on their own and then to do it as a woman. I'm like, just even hearing you say, "Oh yeah, I just booked a, one-way flight and then just decided to stay." That is like amazing, right? So the fact that you got that independence and you decided to do that, and that's not a fear evidently for you. So what is something that's like kind of a fear for you, uncertainty, a doubt about in your life? Because clearly it's not traveling.
Do you know what's really weird is I would say to you, I feel as much fear when I do it as I feel excitement. But what I'm learning to do and what I started to learn and surrender to at this time last year is that that feeling of fear is just my ego protecting me
Mm,
based on things I've been through previously in my life. But
mm,
my higher self normally takes me to where I am meant to be. And if I can move through the fear, I'm normally rewarded. Do you see what I
yes,
mean? So
yes.
it feels like it's weird. Like it gets less, but I promise you it's still there, you know. And for everything you just said, you know, like especially a lot of the work I do around women is because it's our lived experience, isn't it? And
Mm,
for me, for me at 32, and with what I do in the last year, I was so passionate of starting to own my story a year or two ago, and then think I want to give the tools to women like in their early 20s,
mhm.
the ones I just didn't have, and also understanding my privileges of a white, pretty, skinny woman, understanding how I can step off that ladder and make change and be a voice, you know, for the systemic ladder that has been placed there through, you know, a long time through patriarchy and capitalism, you know. So
Right.
it was a lot of stuff for me. It was quite a lot of unpacking, like just over a year ago. um and so yeah, so it's weird because, as I say, there are feelings of fear in someone. But sorry, we sort of navigated into I navigated us into a bit of a different topic there, but
No,
it goes
no,
hand in
I'm going with the
hand,
flow
I
with that.
guess.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah,
so tell me more about this pretty skinny woman thing.
yeah. Do you know, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like, and it's really weird, Felicia. Like, I have actually just recorded a video on privilege because I think it's such a hard, sensitive topic to talk about, and it truly can,
Yeah.
you know, it should be served with a trigger warning, because I feel like we're still in a society where we're navigating what that looks like. And I
Mhm.
really think from my own experience of stuff that I've had to unpack and learn to accept or own, is feeling gaslit for certain things when I was a lot younger. And so then to pick up books, it was like, it was basically, really, it was just before, which was really strange, all the movement with the Black Lives Matter stuff. And it was the
Mhm.
first time in my life where I you know, I'm very fortunate in London. I've grown up in a very diverse community. All of my friends are diverse. But stripping that back, when I was at school in Kent, which is that place slightly out of London, we weren't as
Mhm.
diverse, and it was predominantly 90% white. So
Mhm.
for my first time in my life, I started picking up books around like Women Don't Owe You Pretty, like understanding women, how they're sexualized, objectified. Then I started picking up books like Me and My White Supremacy, White
Wow.
Fragility, Why I'm No Longer Talking to um white people around race anymore. Like, and I got it for the first time in my life. I started to
Wow.
understand privilege, and I started to understand how invisible it is, and why I feel like this society that we're trying to navigate at the minute, and the platforms that we have with the internet now being connected in a place where we have got a platform to speak our truths,
Mhm.
it's navigating the how privilege is invisible. And that's where I feel very passionate around people who do hold privileges, just explaining it and owning it. So yeah, for me, I learned only a year or so ago how, where I couldn't speak my truth or didn't really understand how I sat, especially in the world of men, and just myself, really,
Mhm.
of how I would show up. It was because it started very young. I performed when I was really young. I performed in
Mhm.
Vegas for a bit. I danced when I was young, and performing, you know, it was, I was sexualized constantly, objectified constantly. And then I
Mhm.
understood, you know, I'm reading all these books and just trying to re-educate myself. I was starting to learn how, as well, like, my experience is just my lived experience, but actually, like, the privilege you have is you will never know what it's like to live someone else's lived experience. And that's where it becomes invisible. But I feel like the humility that we're lacking is to listen and to not
Mm.
gaslight. And I think the more that that can be spread, and that can be spread by a person who holds privilege,
Yeah.
it allows the people who have the same privilege as them to start understanding what theirs might be, and just listen, to take accountability for it. Like, it is not our fault when we are given privileges along this ladder of the earth that we've been born into, but I do believe it's your accountability to learn what they are and to own
Yes.
them, and to have humility around the people that don't have them, you know. And I just feel so passionate about that, and that's where I'm at the minute in terms of the work that I do with women, and where I feel so passionate about injustice of people just being heard and seen and allowed to speak their truth.
Yes. Okay. So totally aligning with that. But for those that are watching, just in case, so what is gaslighting?
So
I know
gaslighting
you.
is, yeah, so sorry, I should have explained that. So gaslighting is when
Hmm.
we basically change the narrative of someone's experience.
Yes, exactly. So for those of you that are wondering, because because you know I think we were already vibing, and I know what that is. But then some people are like, well, what is that? Of basically, yeah, changing someone else's narrative. So having those experience and like you've done your so like your as we probably would say like your shadow work, you explored more about who Laura is and what the reasons why you may do what you do or understanding those experiences. So I've heard you use the word coach in helping women. So what does that look like as you're helping to serve your women in your coaching field? Like what is that? What are you helping them with?
I think it's the biggest thing that I've found, and I've really tried to hone in on the last year to understand is I'm very grateful that I have a lot of business experience. So, strategy in business is one thing, but the amount of women that are trying to figure out their journey, or it almost oppresses them in their journey, is their mindset work. And I feel it's a lot to do with just how we've all been placed. And however that looks like for everyone, we've all got a different lived experience. We've all got different trauma. We've all been through different things. But I think the biggest thing
Yeah.
is how I truly believe of just being in this. And from my experience, is that an outward feminine person was never seen as a strength,
Mm.
and I feel like we're just at that tipping point with incredible leaders like Oprah, Brene Brown, like Glenn Doyle. Like, we're just at that
Mhm.
tipping point where we're starting to truly understand that the balance of the feminine and the masculine
Yes.
combined is powerful leaders, powerful business owners, powerful entrepreneurs. But I think for so many years women fought to be heard, and so
Mhm.
they had to take on this masculine energy to almost meet the patriarchy, so the patriarchy could understand what they were up to and what they were doing. And tackle with misogyny, and then tackle with how harder it is for a black woman. There's even more layering to that. So I think, oh my gosh,
Yes.
like, oh God, I can only try and ever like imagine. But and that's why for me, when I'm working with women, so much of it is almost like trying to unravel their toxic masculinity with them and make them feel safe and make them feel heard and make them feel seen, and be
Mhm.
gentle, because again, I have to really take on that responsibility as a mentor that I can't fix. I can only guide, you know
Yes.
so it's both of these things. But when I first started out, it truly was sort of, I was coming from a business like point of view and strategical point of view. But the more I grow and the more I've grown with people in their businesses, it makes me realize how much we are all trying to figure out. We're all trying to like show up feeling like we know what we're doing. There's so
Mhm.
much imposter syndrome, because
Yes.
like in terms of just this world we're in right now, like how beautiful is this space? Like, as soon as you said to me, we just come on and chat, and I'm like, how wonderful, because that is the epitome of being authentic, isn't it? It's just having a chat. um and that's actually,
Exactly.
and it's crazy. And in the last year, I've really realized that that is actually, again, mind blown, but the easiest way to make money, when you work out of your intrinsic passion, your intrinsic love. And guess what else? We don't lead to burnout as often. We don't lead to resentfulness. We don't lead to bitterness. And
Right.
it's just been such a crazy year for me to really unravel all of this. And I'm very grateful that I'm guided by an incredible mentor too. So that really inspired and helped maneuver my journey, but and empower me, I guess, to just know showing up was enough, and being you is enough, and your story is so valid. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing, we're in this place of such a land of comparison and unpacking. But yeah, I guess in a nutshell, that is my biggest connection to women.
Yeah. Well, again, you're saying some keywords for me is like the whole imposter syndrome. And then, yes, as an African American female, for me, it showed up with the whole superwoman and having to be the perfectionist and the concept of you have to be twice as good because not only are you, female, but then you're also black. And so it was the expectation that you may never get that opportunity to do something again, or you're representing a whole community. If you screw it up, they may not let someone else come in behind you
Oh,
because you will
that
be the
pressure,
representative. Yeah, the
that pressure,
representative,
like, God.
the first. Like, oh my gosh. And so having to do all that, yes, that brought success, but then it brought this, stress that comes, with that to where you finally kind of, for me, just had this whole breaking point because you're navigating and you're basically now the struggle between my divine feminine, my divine masculine, and how do I make that work and flow well,
Mm.
for me was part of the journey that I had to learn and embrace. And then what you were saying about just having a conversation of, which is so beautiful about what we're talking about here, is like there's no prep work. You don't have to quote unquote do anything. There's no script. There's no any of that. Is literally just show up as you are. I'm going to show as who I am, and we're just going to co-create whatever it is this experience is going to be for us. And so that is what I learned about the platform that I wanted to bring here, was allowing people to be able to do that. And that's what people are finding is like, oh wow, this is just kind of refreshing, and like there's nothing you have to do. No, just be you,
Yeah, that's
and let's just
incredible.
and just have this
It's incredible.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the coaching and everything that you were talking about, like with the women, what is, in marketing terms, we talk about like an avatar. If you were to describe your avatar, your client, of the woman that, yes, I need to have a conversation with Laura. What is she experiencing? What are some things that she's saying?
Oh, she is trying to figure it out. She really is, and she knows in her heart. She has those moments. It might be when she's meditating, it might be when she's at a glass of wine, but she knows that she's meant to be showing up differently, and she's
Yes.
frightened. And you know what I say, Felicia? It's funny, like I always work in analogies with my clients because as a visual creator, I find that connective. So I almost talk in that language a lot, and I truly believe it's like we get given this place where we're at a riverbank in life. I believe we're all put here in our human experience, and it's almost like we can see the other side of the riverbank,
Mm-hmm.
our something in our higher self, right? And on this
Yes.
side of the riverbank, the ego wins. There's happiness there. You can have a drink, you can do nice things, you can buy nice clothes. Like it is fulfilled. You've got short-term wins. They're all there. You've got friends there. It's lovely. But in between that is there's this river, and there's this riverbank opposite, and it's almost like something deep, 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 deep down in your soul, like just there, or like in that solar plexus where you're like looking over, and it just comes up sometimes, and it's annoying because the ego and the cognitive dissonance tries to doubt you,
Yes.
tries to like stop you thinking about it, and it's not, the world puts all of these things in our way because we're almost fighting against it constantly, when from curriculum, from our systemic pressures,
Mm-hmm.
from where we're placed, from how the world wants to identify us, as opposed to us thinking about who we are and what we want. And then in between, I call it the river of vulnerability. And I believe it's that woman, right? I can't tell anyone to
Mm-hmm.
come down, but the lady that is on the riverbank, and she is looking in the river, she's looking across, she's figuring out, she wants to jump. And I always say, as a mentor, I sit in it. I can't swim it for you.
Right.
Sit in it. I'll sit in it and I'll steer you. And you know what? You might, and the reason why that is so vulnerable, that jump, is because there could be a log, there could be a crocodile, there could be like a deep wave, there could be lots of stuff that go on, and that's fear, that's the unknown, that is trying and failing, that is stepping out in front of everybody and not knowing what to say or do, that is pitching to 100 people and no one says yes. That's all of those things, but
Yes.
people just have to trust and try, and if they're willing, and they're willing to be vulnerable and surrender, I do all the other bit.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
the woman looks like.
Okay, so while you were talking, I was like shuffling some cards just because of the whole energy concept, right? And so it came up at first, like, what are the trigger statements that someone could be experiencing? And it was, I have so much to do. Okay. And then the next one that came out, it was like, okay, what's another sign? It was about the superwoman. She is like busy. She is doing all these different things. She's got all these avenues, right? And then when you were talking about the whole river story and everything, I went to the moon deck, and then of course a woman that's on this boat in this river came up. So you are definitely in alignment with who is resonating with you, because it came out right here in the cards right here. Like she's busy, she's doing, but then she's raising her hand for help. And I think that's one of the things that I would say encouraging someone that's watching this and wanting to connect with you, that just raising your hand of saying, "Hey, yeah, you're talking," to me is absolutely okay. Like it is the time to be able to help and connect with people. And then it was interesting because yes, okay. So just gotta chill because something told me to look up your name before we started this show. Do you know what your name means?
No.
Okay. So Laura means wisdom and honor.
Oh,
And that's what that
that's,
was card.
I feel so grateful. I feel like you're an angel.
Yeah. And so it
That
was
I've been
like,
blessed in your space for you to do that reading for me. I am so
yes.
aligned with reading and cards. Like I really am. Like never ever ever in my life was I ever that. And the last year is the craziest stuff. And even learning about the science and quantum jumping and physics and so on, because it happens and it shows up. Cards work for me,
Yes.
manifestations work for me, they work for my clients. And it's so hard when people don't work in logic or pattern and they work in facts to get their heads around this. But I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so
Mm,
grateful for that because I truly believe everyone is put in front of us for a reason. And that's so lovely of you. Like,
indeed.
thank you so much. The
You're,
fact that
you're
it's 111 today. Also,
Of course, exactly. Everything is aligning because usually, like I said, I've learned now to just follow the intuitions, and I was telling people like I don't do research on people before they come to the show, but I had got the message that go ahead and look up her name before and have that on your screen before you even come. So I was like, okay, fine. So I did that, but notice I didn't ask you in the beginning, like, do you know? Which I asked some people, but I just go with the flow of what they're telling me when to ask and when. And so the fact
so
that
blessed.
what
That's
you
so
were
beautiful.
sharing in your audience was resonating and like this whole superwoman, and then the fact of the card, wisdom, and that's what your name means, wisdom and honor. And you were talking about this whole boat and just who are you helping that are literally raising their hand to serve you. You are connecting and aligning with that, and the Emmanuels, I like to call them, is like saying, yeah, these are the women, because even with this one, like their hands are still raised and
Yeah.
encouraging you that there are so many women that you're going to be out there serving and connecting, that you're definitely flowing and on your path, and just continue to do what you're doing.
Oh,
So
I'm
that's
so grateful for your
amazing.
space. How amazing are you
Yes.
to be doing
Well,
that for other women?
well, here's the
For
thing.
you.
The imposter syndrome for me, there's like what I used to hide about of doing that, of having these abilities or using cards or being able to share messages that I receive. Because before I would just kind of play, like, "Oh, okay, I'm just gonna act like that's just me," but it's really not. I'm connecting, with the people, and even with doing this reading, Laura, is that you go on YouTube and you have different people that do it different ways, and they just do it generic and they don't talk to people. And I used to think that that was, like a fraud, because that's not how it shows up for me. It's like it's a conversation. It is flowing. It's feeling their energy. It's connecting with them versus me just kind of just doing this collective. And it's not, anything negative or wrong or something like that. Like I said, this was just, oh yeah, she's in connection with her, and this is a line, and just give her this word of encouragement that she's on the path and she's doing the work that she's supposed to be doing. Um, and that's what just showed up, and that's what I was just supposed to do. But I'm thankful that you took this opportunity to have, for some meeting someone you had never met before on a live show on
Oh,
a quote unquote professional platform, to be able to have this conversation with me. And so
oh,
I
I'm
definitely
so
appreciate
grateful for
it.
you. And you know what
Yeah.
else? One other thing
Yeah.
as well, I'm really grateful for you for, because this is really strange and again, divine timing, but it's never strange because I know universe, you present as you will. So,
Mhm.
a conversation I had with my mentor today was very much around how I've never felt very aligned with LinkedIn. Very funny. I think it goes back to being dyslexic, gaslighting myself
Mm,
around the fact that spelling is not for me, grammar is not for
mhm,
me. I speak and I perform. I'm a creative. I'm a visual person. So again, what's so weird is I clearly, and I have had imposter syndrome around it before. So
mhm,
again, where I'm very connected to energy, and I believe that's what served me in the last year when I find divine clients and they get served to me and so on, or wherever I go, I get served by going from that my gut and that energy. Um, I just sort of like come away from it a little because it just wasn't.
mm,
I just didn't feel so connected. But what's so funny is I really thought about it again differently with her with my conversation today, and what's so beautiful is exactly what you've just shared the space for is the fact that I have always seen it as this corporate space where you have to show up in such a type of way. And for me, that is a trigger. I literally, I
yeah.
hate everything against that. I want no one to ever feel like they have to be put in a box. I actually feel like that's what creates our trauma. That's what creates all this crap that we have to unpack is that trying to identify someone because none of us are the same. And it's why
Mhm,
I mentor bespokely. I don't sell any programs for 100 people. I don't have academies for 20 people, and some people align and that's so fine for them, but for the way that I bespoke, I believe in the results I get is all one of us, we're all different, we all require something different. I need to nurture and mentor people in such different ways to get the results for them. And I'm just
mhm.
so grateful because, as I say, I feel more aligned with the space because you're on here, and
Well,
and
thank
you are literally against like the full free, like the 180, I guess, the other side of what I believe LinkedIn is. And here I have, and I've met you here, so I'm very very grateful.
Well, I'm gonna read what was because, like I said, I hadn't read, but it was like getting the message to go ahead and read this actual message, and it was because your name is wisdom. Wisdom is more than mere knowledge. So it's not just about the whole books and all that kind of stuff which she is standing upon, right? It's more than that. It says there may be something you aren't seeing and you need to research more thoroughly. Wisdom is gathered, but it takes time. Learn from your experience. You might wish to ask the opinion of a wise mentor if you are uncertain. So the fact that you said you talked to your mentor, um,
She's very wise as well.
exactly. And it says, quote, I use my knowledge and experience to make wise decisions. And so just being encouraged of just knowing that you are serving the women that you're wanting to serve well, that's what you're doing. You're showing the wisdom. It's not about the whole, books and all of that kind of stuff, which this platform, like you said, is that whole kind of
Oh, I'm
representation, but
so
rather
grateful for you.
make it, stand on it, make it what you want, and you're gonna be connected to the women that you're going to be absolutely here to serve. And so it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. I'm so
Thank,
grateful for your space and your energy. Like I
thank
don't
you,
even feel like the
Laura.
energy exchange is balanced because you've
It
served me in so many
it is.
ways that I
It
can't even
is.
explain to you. Well, I'm really, really grateful that you feel like it is because that's all that matters to me.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for coming on the show. Hold tight as we play out the intro. And thank you for those that have joined us live and also watching the replay. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.